It's finally happened. Newcastle United have parted company with Steve Bruce by mutual consent. Take that how you wish. For me, he's finally been booted out the door, given the sack, given his P45, and he can move on as far as I'm concerned. What a great day this is to be a Newcastle United supporter. Steve Bruce has been booted out the door by the new owners. Yes, they gave him game 1000 against Tottenham. It was probably the right thing to do. And then just say, now time's up. It's important now that we move on as a football club. This is a new era. We need to move forward as a football club, and we need to not look back. And with the riches that we have, no disrespect to Steve Bruce, but he's not part of it. He's not that type of manager that is going to win you trophies in the long term. Yes, he's the type of manager that could potentially, keep you in the Premier League with a little bit of backing, but unfortunately, he got that under Mike Ashley, and it still, hasn't got anywhere. It's still the same old dinosaur mid-table football. We want a little bit more than that, and we're not getting it. But we don't have Mike Ashley anymore. It's now the PIF and Amanda Stavey and her consortium who've taken over the football club, and they have their new ideas. They have their own man who they wish to, put in place to try and move the club forwards. We're in a serious relegation battle right now, 19th in the league. There's no getting away from that, but I don't think Steve Bruce is the right man, to take us forward. His record is shocking at Premier League level, the worst in the league for me. And you've already got to look at the statistics, and they will tell you that clearly. He's not a good manager at Premier League level. He'll do your job in the Championship, but the longer we kept Steve Bruce, regardless of this new ownership, he'll take it down. And the table doesn't lie. The results are shocking. The performances are shocking. There's been bust-ups in the dressing room, amongst the likes of Matt Ritchie, Ryan Fraser. We've had it this week with Jamal Lascelles and Isaac Hayden. It's just not good enough, man. Not good enough. We need a manager who can rally the troops and get the best out of them and really push them on to, that next level and try and build, for the future, which we're going to do in January. Because looking at this current side, it's not good enough. And we had a manager there who isn't good enough tactically, out of his depth. He knows that. And, when you've got a manager who, can't spur a team on, at 1-0 up, then that tells you a lot. The way we capitulated against Spurs was quite alarming. You've only got to look, since the turn of the year, I think it's something like 7 wins in 37 games, something daft like that. That is not acceptable. That is relegation form. It really is. And the club have now decided it's best now that they let Steve Bruce go. For me, they've come to some sort of deal in terms of how much compensation it's going to be. There's been rumours of 6, 7, 8 million, whatever it is. I don't care. I'm just glad that he's out of the football club and that Graham Jones can come in on a temporary basis and try and lift the troops, because I think Graham Jones, since he come in, was the one who was motivating the players, and he was probably the one who kept us in the Premier League last season, because we were in great danger of going down. And he come in, he inspired the lads, he took them to that next level. Okay, it's not top 10 level, but it was from like relegation trouble to mid-table, and we stayed there and we got quite comfortable in the end. And it was all down to Graham Jones for me. It wasn't down to Steve Bruce. And every time Graham Jones was mentioned, Steve Bruce didn't like it. He was very snappy. And also looking at his management, since he's been here, it's always a case of he's not been around the players enough. You've only got to look at the Burnley game when it went to a penalty shootout. He's not there rallying the troops. He's at the back. It's Graham Jones who's doing all the talking. And you need a manager who's going to take command, be the manager, and not be, the guy who just stands there and watches it all happen. And you've seen him on the touchline puffing out his cheeks. I mean, his management is just shocking. I didn't want him to start with. Going from Rafa Benitez to Steve Bruce was embarrassing enough. I get it, he took the Newcastle job because he knew he wouldn't get another opportunity under Mike Ashley, because he'd already wanted him a couple of times. He turned it down, but fair enough, he took it and he kept with mid-table. Okay, fine. But as a football club, we want to do better than that. And this was under Mike Ashley. We were not going to do anything, anytime soon. And that's why we attracted a manager like Steve Bruce, because we was never going to go from Rafa Benitez to another top manager. But now that we've got the PIF, they have a man in charge who they believe can take us forwards. They've probably already spoken to him right now. But Graham Jones will, take temporary charge against Crystal Palace, and we'll go from there. But as said, I wanted Steve Bruce gone a long, long time ago. It's not just been today. It's not just been the start of this season. Not even last season for me. I wanted Steve Bruce gone when we lost 5-0 to Leicester City at the King Power Stadium. I went down there, go and check out the vlog. I said there and then, I want Steve Bruce gone. I mean, even in that game as well, St. Maximin, where best player was on the bench. What the fuck was happening there? Do you know what I'm saying? It's embarrassing. He talks about, Dwight Gale being the player that he's always wanted to sign. He's always been stuck on the bench. Why has he not played him? He's played Joe Linton constantly and he's been poor. When Wilson's been out injured. Wilson, yes, of course, being my best striker. But then the next best thing is Dwight Gale because Joe Linton can't score. Dwight Gale will get into the box. But no, he just gets, 5-10 minutes here and there. Sometimes he doesn't make an appearance at all. For me, his formations were completely wrong. This whole 5 at the back, wing back system, dinosaur football, played out from the back, trying to get it forwards, getting St. Maximin to pick up the ball from the defence, to take it forwards. That's not how we play football, We want to play, the long-term ticker-tacker football, which all fans can be, proud to see, to represent the black and white shirt. And yes, I understand we haven't got the best team in the world, and maybe that's how Steve Bruce, that's how he plays his football, But that's not what we want to see on a daily, weekly basis. And for me, it was just a constant thing. 5 at the back. He was playing this, 4-3-3 sometimes when we just didn't have the players. He was playing, the 4 at the back. But players were getting played out of position. And you were seeing centre-backs playing in midfield, midfielders playing at the back. I mean, what's going on there? Do you know what I'm saying? And then he's got St. Maximin playing, somewhere in the middle when he could be played out wide. You could potentially play him up front. It's just embarrassing, man. He had no idea what he was doing and what he was getting himself into. He didn't help himself in the media either, sort of biting to what the media were trying to tell him. You had Rafa Benitez on one hand, who was very good with the media, who would say, what he wanted to say, no more. He wouldn't give much away. But Steve Bruce would give a lot away. Not only that, he slagged the fans off last season when we weren't there. And that's the last thing that you do. And for me, his job was done a long, long time ago. And that's the reason why he stayed in charge, because of Mike Ashley. And secondly, because, Mike Ashley didn't want to pay for another manager because he was leaving the football club, because he wanted to sell the club. And Steve Bruce, was that cheaper option. And for me, if we got taken over a long time ago, if the fans could have the power to go back to the stadium last season, I think he would have been gone a long, long, long time ago. I really do think he would have been gone, because there's no way that he stays, at this football club for as long as he has done. Yes, he's been here two seasons, but, for me, mid-table isn't good enough. I want to see more than that. I want to see a long-term vision, and we've got that with the new ownership. They know what they're doing. They're going to put, things in place. And it'd be just nice to have a manager who we can thrive off, because Steve Bruce, he couldn't. There was just no motivation with this guy whatsoever. As said, just clueless in every department. Fair enough, yeah, you can thank him in terms of what the owners have said. But for me, I don't thank him for anything. I just think it's been 2 years going backwards, a total waste of time. I just wish he never took the job in the first place. And because of that, I'm not saying he shouldn't have took it because it's Steve Bruce. He knew what he was getting himself into with his history with Sunderland. Just his whole-round managerial, CV. It's not great, man. He belongs in the Championship, and yes, he might get a job down the line, but thank goodness it's not with us. There has been a statement from Newcastle United this morning that broke around 10:30, and it says here, Newcastle United can confirm that Steve Bruce has left his position as head coach by mutual consent. I wouldn't even class him as a head coach, if I'm honest. He leaves the Magpies after more than 2 years in charge. 2 years too long. Having steered the club to 13th and 12th place, finishes in the Premier League and reaching the quarter-final stage in both the Emirates FA Cup and Carabao Cup during his tenure. Newcastle United would like to place on record its gratitude to Steve for his contribution and wishes him well for the future. Steve Bruce went on to say himself, I am grateful to everyone connected with Newcastle United for the opportunity to manage this unique football club. I'd like to thank my coaching team, the players and support staff, in particular for all their hard work. There have been highs and lows, but they've given everything in difficult moments and should be proud of their efforts. This is a club with incredible support, and I hope the new owners can take it forward to where we all want it to be. I wish everyone the very best of luck for the rest of the season and beyond. That's from Steve Bruce. Just a little bit on Steve Bruce. For me, he bottled it in the cup competitions. Man City, yeah, you can understand, they're a good side. We're probably not going to get, past the FA Cup quarterfinals at that stage. But Brentford last season, when we got in the Carabao Cup similar round, the way we just balled it against them lot. Yeah, okay, they're a good Premier League club now and they were looking to get promoted, but, the way he just set about the team just wasn't good enough, man. There was just no urgency. And also just talking about his football against Tottenham, what was evident to see, the players weren't even pressing. They weren't even, tracking down, their runners. There was just nothing there. The midfield, like a Premier League pack of polos, just nothing in the centre, no creativity, completely dead. You've got players who just didn't look interested. For example, Joe Willock. Shelby's all over the place. Just look at the way he come on, and he was gone within about 10-15 minutes of playing. It's just not good enough, man. Defence from being, what was it, the 5th best in the league under Rafa Benitez, despite finishing mid-table, to like one of the worst in the Premier League. The goals that we've shipped in this season's embarrassing. It's something like, is it 16, 17, 18 plus goals? I haven't seen the goal difference, but it's shocking. And again, we just can't score goals. We don't score enough of them. Players getting injured constantly. You have to question his training methods as well. That was non-existent. And players just didn't want to play for him. It's as simple as that for me. It's not a case of they just didn't like him. There was just no real structure in place, to try and kick on. And players were just getting sick and tired. And as I said, if he wasn't going to get sacked now, for me, it would have been Crystal Palace regardless, because Crystal Palace, yeah, they've done all right, but, we need to be beating the likes of Crystal Palace. We haven't got to win, on the board this season, man. We're in 19th place. We've got 3 points. For me, the way we bottled it against Southampton was embarrassing. The way we bottled it against West Ham was embarrassing. We should have beat Watford twice over. So for me, you could argue that we could be on 8, 9, 10 points, double figures. We're not, because his man management isn't good enough. His staff, well, they're totally clueless as well. They'll be out the door. But I'm glad that Graham Jones, has been given that chance to take the club on for the next few games. I hope he gets given a bit more time with, the new manager, because I think Graham Jones is one of us and he knows exactly what he's doing. If anything, I've seen Graham Jones as the manager, not Steve Bruce, Graham Jones, because he's got that nous about him. And it says on the club website, Graham Jones will lead the team on an interim basis, starting with Saturday's trip to Crystal Palace, and will be supported by the coaching team of Steve Agnew, Stephen Clements, Ben Dawson and Simon Smith. So actually they haven't left, but hopefully they're doing good riddance to them. The process of recruiting a new head coach is underway, and an appointment will be announced in due course. The club will not be making further comments at this time, so they are, ready to make, the next step in terms of getting the new manager in charge for whenever that may be. Hopefully it's very, very soon, because we are in a precarious situation, in the Premier League table. But do you know what? I'm just glad for me that he's gone. He's gone for his own good. He's gone for his own, his own health, because it was only going to get worse. And it was anyway. There was no winning. Steve Bruce was never going to turn the crowd over. He was saying things like, I'm glad to have this job, this, that, and the other. Bollocks. I don't want to hear it anymore. For me, he's just a tactical dinosaur, and he's long overstayed his welcome. I think, as I said, he should have been gone ages ago. I'm just glad that these new owners have come in, seen sense, and that us, the fans, are finally getting listened to, because, of all the shit that we've had to put up with for the past 14 years or more, it's just not been, good enough. And it's good to see now that the club, are moving forwards. They're seeing the results for what they are. The table, as I said, doesn't lie. And there's been talk of Fonseca potentially taking over. If you don't know much about him, he finished 7th as Roma manager in the Serie A. Would he work? Again, I don't know too much about him, but, apparently he's won things for Roma. Eddie Howe, he was linked yesterday. That's another good shout. He knows the Premier League well. He kept Bournemouth in it, for a good 5 seasons, and he got them from League 2. So he has a lot of Premier League experience. He knows Matt Ritchie, he knows Callum Wilson, he knows Ryan Fraser, so he's got a head start just there. I don't want a manager to come in and just be the short-term replacement. I said this for the Conte video a couple of videos back. We need someone who's going to be there for the next 3, 4, 5 years. We need to have a plan in place. Of course, we need to get a sporting director. That's important. And obviously they've only been in the door 5 minutes. We know this. But for me, I do believe that the new era is well and truly underway. They're not messing about. They're not going to come in and just pay 300 million quid plus and not do anything and just sit back like Mike Ashley did. They have a plan, and I love that. I can't believe that this badge, this club, will be something different in the next 3, 4, 5 years. You're going to see the transformation. It's going to take time, but I'm glad that Steve Bruce is no longer part of it. Yeah, don't get me wrong. You've got to be grateful that he stepped in probably in a difficult time when Mike Ashley got rid of Rafa Benitez. But for me, I think Rafa Benitez should have been kept on. He really should have been kept on. But then again, we weren't to know about this takeover and when it was going to go through. It was still in its early stages then. But yeah, I'm absolutely made up. I'm buzzing with this. It's now, done and dusted. As I said, Graham Jones will lead the team, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the players can play for him and get a result, because if there's anyone who deserves the first win of the season, in charge of this football club on an interim basis, it's Graham Jones, for the work and effort that he put in. you know, from the Everton game onwards last season at Goodison Park when we got the first win, he could be that guy who could inspire the players. And as I said, if and when the new coach comes in, I hope he gets to stay on, you know, and work with the players. But anyway, breaking news, Steve Bruce has left by mutual consent. Take that how you wish, but for me, I think it's sacked, you know what I mean? Give him the payoff, and he can go and, you know, enjoy his holidays, and yeah, Steve Bruce is no more. But yeah, for that's been the video. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. I'm not a Crystal Palace, unfortunately. I'm doing some decorating around the house. I have just been, this is a quick off-the-cuff video, but yeah, please, as I said, do the following. Put your comments down below what you make of this, and I'll see you all in the next one. How are the lads?